The Jedi are all about suppressing their emotions, so therefore they don't turn to the dark side. And the Sith are all about let's embrace our emotions and get lots of power and take over. That surely there are more options than just those two, because both of them were wrong about emotions. Here's the Jedi Code. It's 5 parts. There is no emotion, there is peace. There is no ignorance, there is knowledge. There is no passion, there is serenity. There is no chaos, there is harmony. There is no death, there is the Force. I'm going to focus on the first and the third ones because that's relevant to what we're talking about. There is no emotion, there is peace. There is no passion, there is serenity. Which makes it really clear the Jedi are all about getting rid of emotions, and I think they have the wrong approach. What the Jedi are doing is they are moralizing their emotions. That is to say, they are giving moral weight to their emotions, and they're saying that these are bad and therefore to be avoided. When in reality, emotions do not have moral weight. They are not good, they aren't bad, they just are. They are non-moral. The actions you take based on your emotions can be good or bad, but the emotions themselves are not. Maybe the Jedi have seen how emotions have been abused or how people let emotions run their lives. And both of those are true statements. You don't want to do that. But in their haste to avoid that extreme, they've run so far to the other extreme that they're avoiding them altogether. Now, the Sith don't do too much better either. Here's the Sith Code, also 5 parts. Peace is a lie, there is only passion. Through passion I gain strength, through strength I gain power, through power I gain victory. Through victory my chains are broken, the Force shall free me. So the first one is laughably false. Peace and passion can both exist at the same time in the same person. And the second one isn't necessarily true either. You can have passion without strength or vice versa, or with it. Yeah. The next few at least have a logical progression where this leads to this leads to this, but whatever. Also, interestingly enough, there's nothing in the Sith Code that says you have to try to take over the world unless you're interpreting the strength and power and victory ones as you must gain as much as possible, which I think is kind of a stupid approach, but whatever, I guess you could interpret it that way. But I digress, let's get back to emotions. Like the Jedi, the Sith also moralize their emotions. They're assigning moral weight when, remember, emotions do not have moral weight, they aren't good or bad. The Jedi said emotions are bad, the Sith say emotions are good, but in both cases they're making the error of moralizing their emotions. The Jedi are more at this extreme over here of not just don't let emotions run your life, but don't have them at all, that the Sith go to the other extreme of let them run your life. Both are bad. Because errors come in pairs. The virtue is somewhere in the middle between two opposite errors. So let's talk about virtue. Let's take the virtue of courage, which is about not letting fear run your life. So one of the extremes is letting fear run your life. There's this right thing that you're supposed to do, you know you should do, but fear gets the best of you and you don't do it. So we're going to call that the defect of courage, as in there's not enough of it. But the other extreme, the excess of courage, is not giving fear its due weight, as in here's this thing you're supposed to do, but you're not even considering any of the possible harm to yourself. So you're brash, you're foolhardy. That might seem like it's courage, but it's not. It's the excess, it's the other extreme, and it also is bad. Now, the excess looks more like the virtue than the defect does. It's still a vice. Both of them are vices. The excess is slightly less so. The virtue is obviously the thing you're going for, which is giving courage, courage is giving fear its due weight, but not too much weight, not letting it run things. So in general, let's expand it from courage, which regulates fear, to temperance in general is the virtue that regulates emotions. Now, obviously, certain emotions might have a specific virtue tied to them, so like courage with fear, but just in general, temperance is that one that we're looking for. All right, so let's apply this language of excess and defect to the virtue of temperance. So the defect would be letting the emotion run your life, not letting right reason control it, and that is the error of the Sith. The excess would be not caring about the emotion, not considering it at all, and that is the error of the Jedi. And I've said several times throughout that emotions don't have moral weight, which is true, but that doesn't mean they're irrelevant. That doesn't mean we should ignore them, because emotions are pointers. They point to something. And so by paying attention to them, you can learn something like, what is this saying? All right, let's take resentment, for example. Not necessarily a pleasant emotion or one that you enjoy. Resentment is often a clue that someone has violated a boundary that you've set, or maybe a boundary that you failed to make vocal. And so if you notice yourself being resentful, you can say, okay, what boundary has been violated, and why am I feeling resentful, and unpack that. Or like in the movie Inside Out, fear is there to protect you from danger. Sadness is there to help you reach out for others when you need it. So when the Sith are letting the emotions run the show, yes, they're trying to get more power, but they're also missing the point that emotions are just pointers. They're good travel companions, but they're not good guides. So one, they're missing what the emotions are pointing to, and then also like letting emotions, which never were meant to run the show, to run the show. The Sith are definitely wrong about emotions. Their view is the defect of the virtue of temperance, which means the excess, the Jedi, it's more like the virtue, but still not there. But by ignoring their emotions, the Jedi, I think, are losing out on all this stuff about emotions being pointers. I think the Jedi would actually be much stronger if they retained their emotions, and it was all about tempering it, like still allowing themselves to feel it, but not suppressing, not ignoring, but moderating those emotions. Being a hero means becoming who God created you to be, which as a human being includes emotion. So being a hero is being more you, emotions and all. P.S. Be a hero today.